Happy Saturday, everybody. It's a little early this morning, but my stepson had a band performance today, so I went ahead and dropped him off. And then I came back to the house for just a little while before I go check on my wife at the hospital. But I wanted to talk to you guys in the meantime about 10 individual issues from Marvel Comics that I've personally read over the years that will kind of help you get to the heart of these characters. There are so many back issues, crazy, stupid amount of back issues that people just don't take the time to dig through the individual boxes anymore when they go to the store. A lot of people don't think that the back issues have anything of relevance. They don't think that they still hold any kind of meaning. But here's 10 issues that I think will teach otherwise. Okay? First one is Amazing Spider-Man 248. And this is a story about Peter and Tim, who's a young boy who idolizes Spider-Man, saving news clippings and everything that he can to be close to his hero. There's no fisticuffs here, nothing that Peter can attack to help the boy. See, Tim is dying of cancer, and it's his greatest wish to meet his favorite hero. And Peter, in a pivotal moment, chooses to remove his mask and reveal his identity to this dying child, giving him the greatest gift that he ever could, to prove that the man is more important than the spider. That is one of the, hands down, most quintessential Spider-Man stories ever. Ron Frenz is the artist on it, and it was written by Roger Stern. And if you have not picked that issue up, it's not expensive. It's right there before the end of Stern and John Romita Jr.'s run. Romita Jr. penciled the main story, but Ron Frenz penciled that story. And so you get to see exactly how Peter feels about helping this young child. It's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking, guys. All right, the next book is Iron Man number 128. And this is the Demon in a Bottle issue that everybody's familiar with because of Tony's alcoholism. And then Tony Stark realizes at last that his flippant attitude towards the copious amounts of alcohol that he consumes on a daily basis has the power to do something that no villain has ever done, to beat him utterly and forever, and destroy everything that he's ever built. It even cost him his friends, as they are also punished for his preoccupation with the bottle. In the end, he chooses his friends and his sobriety over his vice. So Stark is in a precarious position in this issue because the government and S.H.I.E.L.D. are trying to, buy out Stark International and get a controlling amount of stock in his own company. And Jarvis, who he had given 2 shares of the stock to, has fallen on hard times. Meanwhile, Tony has been embroiled in all sorts of things in his own personal life, and so Jarvis didn't see fit to burden Tony with what was going on in his own life with his mother. So he sold the shares of stock, which were immediately gobbled up by the government and S.H.I.E.L.D. And we have to see where that goes in future issues. But it's a strong reminder that your actions and the things that you do have consequences. And that if you forget those that love you the most, and you turn inward and only concern yourself with inward, then terrible things can happen. It's a very powerful issue. It's not taken with caricature. It is very serious, and it shows what can happen if you lose yourself to pills or in the bottle. It's powerful, powerful stuff, guys. All right, next up is Hulk 25, and that one was actually, that was written by Paul Jenkins back around 2000, and penciled by John Romita Jr., inks by Tom Palmer. And here, Bruce Banner has been manipulated into a brawl with the Abomination by General Ross. He reminds the Hulk that the Abomination was the one who caused Betty to be put into stasis until her radiation poisoning can be reversed, and that causes him to lash out and attack. In the end, his humanity wins out, and he spares Emil Blonsky, but not before delivering a psychologically calculated blow. He has a monitor set up in a loop at Emil's jail cell to show him his last interaction with his own wife before he himself was turned into the Abomination, thus echoing Bruce's loss of Betty. Blonsky, even though he's evil to the core, he still loved his wife. And he lost his wife and lost his ability. He can't change back. Blonsky is the Abomination. He's not fortunate enough, like Banner is, to be able to go back and forth between Banner and the Hulk. Blonsky is the Abomination. So it shows that through loss, you can triumph. No matter what you feel like you've lost, you can still triumph in the end against forces of evil, stress, pain. Just keep pushing. That's the message here, is just keep pushing forward, and you will eventually get to where you need and want to be in life. Next up is Captain America 254, where Cap is confronted by the bloodlust of Baron Blood, a true vampire. A horror story set in a medieval castle backdrop. Steve tries to reason with Blood, always seeking to send his opponents to jail rather than to the morgue. But when Blood attempts to murder British superhero Union Jack, Cap is forced to behead the villain with his shield. The necessity of action, the soldier that defines the heart of Captain America, is showcased in how sometimes greater evil must be permanently vanquished in the name of the greater good. It just seems like a regular fisticuffs fight, a regular issue of Captain America where he's going to have to take on Baron Blood. But in this issue, the bloodlust of that character becomes so much that he tries to end another superhero's life. And Cap realizes this is too far. This is just too far, and it's too much, and I can't allow Blood to ever have the opportunity to do this again. It's really great art. I believe John Byrne was the artist on that issue, so it's really amazing art. Dadgummit. But it really just speaks volumes to the soldier behind the man that Captain America is. Next up is Daredevil 47. And this is a story showcasing that even if Matt Murdock had his sight, the color of another person's skin would bear no weight on his choice to defend them. Willie Lincoln lost his eyesight in Vietnam, but he's back home in New York City and being harassed by Biggie Benson's toughs, who have kept him from getting a job by framing him for a bribe that he never took. Matt takes his legal case, while in his red long johns he protects him from the attack of Benson's gang. In the end, Matt exonerates Willie in court and lures Biggie's men to Willie's apartment, tearing them apart in the dark to make them think it was Willie who roughed them up, ensuring that they won't bother him ever again. So, Stan Lee, say what you will about him, wrote some poignant stories discussing race, and this is one of them, that it shows that Matt will be a hero no matter the color of the skin of the person that he's trying to defend. The person, if somebody is wronged, Matt Murdock will be there to make it right no matter their background. And he had already met Willie when Willie was still overseas, but Matt says, I can't let on that I know him. I have to pretend that I've never met him before. And it's a very powerful story about taking on that responsibility of helping others, no matter where they come from, their background, whether they like you, they don't like you. There's a whole lot of gray areas in these sorts of stories, but Stan Lee hits the nail on the head with Dean Colan as the artist on this issue. It it's one of those Silver Age greats, like a lot of the Silver Surfer issues that Stan and Jack and John Buscema did. All right, next up is Earth X Issue 0 by John Paul Leon and Jim Kruger. And it says, in this introduction to a possible dystopian Marvel future, Machine Man Aaron has shown the entirety of the universe's history and instructed that he is to become the new Watcher after U2 is blinded. The heroism of all the Marvel heroes is cataloged here, as well as the current slate of things and the weight of their failures. Though the whole saga grew a little long in the tooth by the end, a fantastic opening book for the first miniseries and the art by John Paul Leon will keep you coming back for the rest of the series easily. This is almost like Kingdom Come for Marvel. It went on a lot longer than Kingdom Come did, but it was excellent. And this first issue has got a cover by Alex Ross with a flaming hand and earth. It's one of the most beautiful images I've ever seen. It's very simplistic, but it just brings a tear to my eye every time I read that book and every time I look at that cover. It's a story that overall reminds you of the heroism of the heroes that Marvel has cultured all of these years. It reminds you of greater heights that you yourself can reach by reaching out there and trying to help people rather than expecting them to always come to you. So it's a classic. In my opinion, it's one of the best miniseries that Marvel ever put out, and it shows a possible dystopian future for the Marvel Universe. So if you hadn't had a chance to check that out, I think you're going to like that issue a whole lot. And I promise you, it's going to suck you in, and you'll end up reading the whole, I think it was 13 issues, because there was an issue 0 and an issue X at the end of the miniseries. So maybe 14 issues. All right. Next is The Inhumans #1, again by Paul Jenkins, this time with art by Jay Lee. This maxi-series puts the idiosyncrasies of the Inhumans on full display. It's a family dynamic similar to the Fantastic Four, but much more fractured. Readers can see in the first issue the majesty and the grandeur of the lost city of Attilan, led by Black Bolt, one of the greatest and simultaneously most tragic figures in all of Marvel's catalog. Condemned to utter silence due to the destructive nature of even the slightest whisper from his lips. A king who rules his kingdom through silent wisdom and the threat of what could happen should he utter a single word. And as the series progresses, another reason for Black Bolt's silence is uncovered. So, this is one of the Marvel Knights miniseries, well, maxi-series, because it was 12 issues, that Marvel did in the early 2000s. Paul Jenkins is a highly, in my opinion, underrated writer for Marvel. It's not that he's undervalued, it's just that a whole lot of people, of this new generation probably have never read all this stuff. He did an excellent run on the Hulk, along with that issue 25 that I was talking about earlier. He also did an amazing run on the Spectacular Spider-Man with Mark Buckingham. So if you haven't seen that issue, that series of issues, you need to check that out as well. But to get back to the Inhumans, Jay Lee's artwork elevates this story from an already interesting perspective that Black Bolt rules the Inhumans, but each one of these characters has got such a strong personality that they all fall in line before Black Bolt because they know what could happen if he were to speak. But they also let their feelings and their frustrations and all of their presumed failures of Black Bolt be on full display. So it's a little chaotic, but at the same time, you see that family is family and that they will come and rise to the occasion when it is necessary. All right, guys, we're almost done. We've got the first issue of the Century, again by Paul Jenkins, and again, artwork by Jay Lee. Who could resist the idea of a character who was the greatest and the mightiest of the Silver Age heroes, but was forcefully forgotten, not only by the readers, but even by his peers? All because of his dark side, which humbled even the Hulk. Bob Reynolds has a problem similar to Tony Stark, but the ramifications of him losing control on the demon in a bottle see a far wider reaching destruction ahead. And what exactly does happen if everybody remembers this fallen hero? I remember Wizard magazine in 1999, before this miniseries came out. They were saying, hey, there was a forgotten Marvel hero, and it was created by Stan Lee and Artie Rosen. That's great, but there is no Artie Rosen, and there is no forgotten hero. It's because when I saw it, I was like, wait a minute. They're saying that this artwork is by Artie Rosen. That's John Romita Sr., if I'm anybody. Even at that age, I could tell. I was like, wait, they're trying to pull the wool over our eyes somehow. And this series, the first 5 issues of this miniseries, and then it branched out to a couple of individual issues. And it just seems like Marvel squandered this character, because he could have easily been Marvel's Superman with a fractured psyche and a drinking problem of a different kind. Bob Reynolds has the power of a million exploding suns. And he's, like I said, he's pretty much Marvel's answer to Superman. He gets his strength from a serum. And he eventually got hung up on the serum and got addicted to it, just like Tony got addicted to alcohol. And in the end, Bob has got a really dark secret that threatens the entire Marvel universe if he doesn't disappear. So it's really interesting stuff. Paul Jenkins did a lot of psychologically entertaining things back during this time that really spoke to me as a student of psychology. So check it out, guys. That original Century miniseries is top-notch from both creators. All right, and the next to last is Silver Surfer 142. Trapped in the microverse, Norrin Radd allows himself to be drawn to an alien planet, a planet where a mother figure named Brahmanes connects to the heart of the world and indeed to the heart of the universe, feeling its greatest joy, angling with its greatest pain, fear, and every other emotion that life forms on the planet and the universe feel. So she's kind of like the emotional spectrum, a living emotional spectrum for the entire universe, not just for this one world. And she chooses to share some of that pain with the Surfer, not maliciously, but because she heard his own soul cry out to feel something. He sometimes worried that he was losing his humanity by being locked inside the silver shell that surrounds his body, that he could become too much the philosopher and stop feeling, very humanly. The perfect showcase for exploring the Surfer's humanity and complexity as a character. This is a little-known run, in my opinion, by J.M. DeMatteis and John J. Muth. They only did issue 140 through 145, but this 142, it's interesting because he's like, I've got to get back to Alicia. I've got to save the universe. I've got to save all these creatures that are counting on me and me alone. I'm the only one that can do this, but I'm enjoying the heck out of exploring a place that I've never been before. That was Norrin Radd's whole thing. That is his whole thing, is I have to explore. I can't be trapped on this planet. I can't be trapped on Zenla. I can't be trapped on all of these. I can't be weighted down by all of these boundaries. I need to be free. I need to be out there, and I need to be talking to strange alien species. I need to be out there exploring. That's what got me to be Galactus's herald in the first place, and that's where I need and where I want to be. And this encapsulates that perfectly. Perfectly. All right, guys, and the very last issue that will sum up Marvel and their universe is Thor number 11. Thor's hammer Mjolnir has been cut in twain by the Dark Gods, leaving Jake Olsen vulnerable to their brutal attacks. This situation is different than most for Thor, as he was slain in the first issue of the series, so instead of Jake being just an extension of Thor, he is merely human, and Thor is a completely separate person. so he cannot withstand the brutal attacks like his godly counterpart. Still, he vows to not give up nor leave his fellow Asgardians to their death, a bright, shining example of the heroism of this character. Thor doesn't quit. He's like a tank. And even though Jake Olsen is just Jake Olsen due to the machinations of Marnot, who ends up being Loki. Sorry, guys. That's about a almost 30-year-old spoiler. So, but issue 11 starts out with a cover with Jake on his knees and the hammer destroyed by the mighty Pericus. And you see him at his lowest, and then you see him decide to strategize rather than just jump back into the fray. He's trying to be intelligent. The Dark Gods take it a different way, but he's trying to be intelligent about this. So that, guys and gals, is my top 10 Marvel books that will really show you who these characters are and decide, in my opinion, whether or not you like the Marvel Universe or whether you're more of a DC guy or an Image guy or something like that. So let me know in the comments if you guys agree with my list. Are there any books that you would have put on this list and taken one of mine off? Let's talk about it. Let's go ahead and get into the nitty-gritty. I will admit that I have not read nearly as much DC as I have Marvel, but I will try to put together in the next couple of days or next week a list of DC books that kind of epitomize that story, that universe, and then we can talk about that. Sneak peek, it's definitely, two of them is definitely going to be Green Lantern Rebirth and DC's The New Frontier. Thanks for joining me again, guys. I hope you have a wonderful Saturday, and I hope it's restful, and we will catch y'all in the next video. Take care.